conversation. I'm uh, I'm not sure I got enough to report to keep everyone busy for an hour, but we can just kind of kick this thing off and
We
see
don't
where
have
it
a time
goes.
limit. We don't have a time limit. Just fire away and tell us what you're
Yeah,
learning.
yeah.
Fire
Look,
questions you got for us and have a little fun with it. So,
yeah, you bet. Look, appreciate everybody coming out this evening. So soil action has been, as my dad used to say, busier than a cat covering shit for the past 90 days. We have been out to Iowa to pick up soil and truck it on back to Laramie, Wyoming, where we've set up our processing lab. So, as opposed to being out in the field, which is probably what you guys are used to in terms of field trials, what we do because we're training an AI model is we're able to just go out and grab a bunch of soil from folks that have agreed to sort of partner with us through the Ag Launch team and allow us to take some of their soil back to Laramie. And what we do with that is we send it out to wet labs. So we're categorizing all the soil that we're bringing back, soil types, all the various sort of nutrient loads that they carry at that particular time, and and then we use that data and as a baseline to train this AI that we're building. AI is a little misleading. It seems like everybody calls everything AI these days. Really, what we're doing is we're processing this data through a series of deep learning models. And the only thing that's relevant about that, if you're not familiar with deep learning models, is that they're great for identifying patterns. And that's what we're doing, is we're just trying to find all the correlations between various soil types and their various nutrients and their pH and their CEC, et cetera, all the different variables that we're testing for. And then we run them through a series of models. And what that does is it finds correlations between correlations. And that's really the difficult thing, is to uncover all of the stuff that human beings can do with classical statistics, but it would take us years, if not decades, to do it. So we've made great progress on that front in terms of being able to train this model on northern Iowa soils specifically. We're taking this crawl, walk, run approach, and so limiting ourselves to northern Iowa gives us the greatest opportunity to come out of the gate with a product that we know will perform for customers. Now, that said, we've gone back to Iowa recently. Actually, we didn't go. We were fortunate enough to have Adam Drelo help us out, and he sent one of his guys out to some of the farms that we'd sampled from previously, and we pulled more samples. Just again, trying for pre harvest, post harvest, and see how the soil's changing and kind of ground truthing this stuff. And we expanded our lab reach. We started using Waypoint in Iowa exclusively, and we've expanded out with 4 additional labs. So besides Waypoint, we're sending samples to Southeast Agri-Labs down in Georgia, AgSource and Regen in Nebraska, and then Colorado State University is also doing testing for us. And we were looking to see what kind of variability we would get across different methodologies and different extractants. And we were shocked. You probably won't be shocked at this statement, but we were shocked but the amount of variability across labs is, quite frankly, it's frightening. Um, and so much so that we thought maybe we weren't processing the soil right. So we took some homogenized samples and then bagged it up as and called it different soil samples and sent them in single batches to all across these labs. And again, the results came back, and the same soil at the same labs all came back with different results. Now, if I'm a farmer, that terrifies me. And quite frankly, I don't know how you guys have managed all these years, because what that tells me is that a thimbleful of soil being tested on a 2.5 acre grid in the imperfect world of wet lab testing is like it's almost useless. I mean, I think that's a fair statement. It's probably useless for you. So what it did do, though, is it convinced us that the industry needed a better solution. So what we were doing, although difficult, is incredibly important. And so where we are today is we've gone through our first round of prototyping. We engaged someone in your neck of the woods, a gentleman named Bob Recker, who I'm sure some of you are familiar with. Bob built the first prototype unit for us, took our sensor and got it into a tractor mounted environment and started dragging it across fields. And we did that all summer. And we got far enough along that we have now taken and engaged basically an optics and electrical engineering firm to change the form factor. Because the other thing that we've learned from you guys is that there just isn't a lot of real estate under planters and combines and fertilizer rigs. We're not going to get a lot of room to put these sensors. So we're working on taking the form factor and shrinking it down with our goal to be somewhat in the range of a firmer. We've heard so many positive things about the smart firmer technology that we thought there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. I'd rather steal a good idea than invent one myself. So we're trying to use a form factor similar to that so we can deliver a tractor mounted unit in 2026. So our goal is to have that out in the market by the middle of next year. Now, that said, we have a handheld unit that we're trying to get out into your hands in time for the planting season. Because even though it won't be as convenient as mounting it on your tractor and pulling it through your field while you're planting, the opportunity to get a lot more data before you decide how much fertilizer to put in the ground, we think that's worthwhile. So we're trying to take an interim step and get you a handheld device prior to that. Um, I don't know how many of you guys have been following what we've been doing, but our goal here is to get everybody a higher resolution map of their field in real time while you're doing other things, right? You're making passes across your field for a variety of other jobs that have to be done on the farm. And we want this device to basically be a ride along that requires no additional effort on your part, but delivers a lot of value. So that's really what we're have at our mindset right now. And the goal here, what we believe we can deliver is what is effectively a lab result on a tenth of an acre basis, as opposed to a 2.5 acre grid. So, you know, every time you pass through the field, getting somewhere between 15 and 20 times the resolution of what's happening in your field in real time. Now, the real time clearly has its own value, but the having a much more granular map we think will be super valuable to you guys. Um, and then the opportunity to put it on your tractor every time you go through the field then just gives you this ability to identify the trends of what's happening in your field. You know, what's the nutrient cycling look like? How is, how is the uh, fertility relative to weather? You know, how is that transacting? So we want you to be able to predict what you need to do as opposed to just be reactive. So um, the the sensor is being redesigned. The user interface is being redesigned right now. That's something else we heard. Got a lot of feedback from farmers that this thing really needs to be uh, idiot proof, if you will. It needs to be super simple. The data needs to be sort of in your face, not requiring any thought. Um, our ultimate goal is that you don't really need to see that data. We'll always make it available, but ultimately we want this thing to be connected to your variable rate implements and have those things talk to each other so you don't have to make any decisions while you're in the cab. But uh, providing that data in a super simple way to digest, we heard loud and clear is important. So we're addressing that as well. Um, so that's sort of where we're at right now. We're also going to be bringing back about another 15 or 20 yards of soil that Adam has identified a source for us. So we're doing some lab tests on that bulk soil uh, availability, and we'll be bringing that back to Laramie. Uh, there's there's winter in Iowa, which means there isn't a lot that we can do in terms of digging up ground in the fields from everyone who's contributed to date. So we're trying to get that soil back now um, before that big bulk pile freezes up on us. So we can continue to work here for the next 4 or 5 months while we wait for spring to come around in Iowa. So that's the big update. I wish I had something to show you, but we're probably another 60 days out from showing you guys the next iteration of this thing. We will be putting a video up that we filmed uh, with Bob's device going through the field. So we'll probably have that up in the next couple of weeks, and I'll make sure Lauren gets that and he can share that out with everybody so you can kind of take a look at where we are today. And again, knowing that we have this smart firmer form that we're trying to replicate, give you an idea of how far we've got to go with this thing. So I'm going to shut up now. And if anybody's got any questions for me, I'm happy to try and answer them for you.
Jack, appreciate the update. Wondering at some point, what was kind of the percentage of the differences or the deviation there that you were seeing when you sent those homogenized samples between the labs out of curiosity? And
Yeah,
was it consistent? You know, like one was always kind of high in a given area versus another. I mean, did you see consistency or just what did you see?
Yeah, so what we saw from different labs was this huge band of high to low ratios. So, we it what that did for us is it set a ceiling and it set a floor. And what it taught us is that it doesn't matter if you uh, if your data is reading high or it's reading low, as long as it's consistently reading that. But what it really taught us, Joe, is that the need for more data within a smaller area is mission critical. So even if the readings from our sensor uh, were to fall, let's just say hypothetically it falls smack dab in the middle, right between the high and the low. It almost again doesn't matter from an accuracy perspective of how close we are to any given lab because there's such a broad band of results from the wet labs. The key is delivering the consistency, right? Somebody said to me, if it's not repeatable, it's not reliable. And so the goal is to create this reliability, but create it with higher resolution. So you're going to, just as you do today, you take the information that you have at hand and you look at your yield results and you make some decisions based on that. So the goal of soil action is to give you more data more often and give it to you on a repeatable basis. So for again, I believe that the real value here is that if you take this thing through your field 3, 4 times a year, you'll be able to tell what's happening with the fertility in your field. And you'll be able to actually make very objective decisions about what you need to put on your field, whether you're retaining nitrogen, whether your phosphorus is bioavailable or not. Like these are all the things that we think are more important than just saying, you know, I'm your agronomist is always going to write your prescription for you. Our goal is to help you decide whether or not you should use more or less in the given moment that you're going to apply it. But if you think about this thing over the course of a year and you develop that trend, and maybe it takes 2 years to see that trend line be repeatable, um, then you'll be able to actually make some proactive decisions about how much you're going to budget for nitrogen. And should you take some of your budget and put it at secondaries or micros? Should you be putting your budget uh, all in the, tillage pre-planting, or should you divide that up and do some of it pre-planting and apply more of it at your side dress uh, cycle? So again, it's just trying to help people understand what's happening in the ground at a given moment is where we think the value is. So it isn't so much whether the labs are high or low, it's the consistency that's important. So I hope I answered your question. That was probably a long-winded answer to your question.
Well, in essence, if you get the consistency down, you should be able to calibrate to about any existing soil sample. I mean, if you see the trend going up and down, like say you're using uh, Waypoint Labs like you did already, if a guy's constantly using Waypoint Labs and your sensor is showing that it's going up and down, it should calibrate with the waypoint going up and down.
Yeah, so I mean that's the other reason why we started going out to a broader cross section of labs is that we know people have their favorite labs, right? They've got years of data They've been using them, over the course of their, you know, their careers. And this will allow us to calibrate our data uh, to make it more closely resemble a waypoint, a regen, a seal. Like, again, the goal here is consistency. Because if you know what's going to happen, you can make a decision based on that.
While we're waiting for other questions, I would say, what's the next steps where you see us coming in handy to help you more?
So, I mean, honestly, Lauren, you've already done it in that you helped us collect the last batch of 20 different uh, buckets from the various farms. Adam is going to dig up 20 yards, put it in sacks, and we'll bring that back to Laramie. And then, quite frankly, we'll be back hopefully in our goal is to be back in Iowa in February to demonstrate the next iteration of the tech. Now, it's still going to be winter in Iowa, so that's something that we plan to do indoors, um, just using the sensor by hand in a variety of different soil samples that we've already lab tested. Um, and we want to be, our goal is to be far enough along that we would have a unit available for folks to use pre-planting to get a much more higher resolution, more granular look at their fields before they actually go out and start laying nitrogen down. So you guys have done your work. We're extremely grateful. You guys, we call, ask for a favor, and you guys act, and so we're very appreciative of that.
You got a question, Drew? Go ahead.
Yeah, Jack, Drew Erickson. I work on a research farm where you guys took some samples. I'd be really curious. We'd sample much more methodically than your average farmer. We do 10th of an acre. We pull 6 cores from a 10th of an acre.
Okay.
So I'd be really curious to compare the buckets you guys took versus the samples that we take.
Oh.
Maybe you'll rock our world too.
Hey, look, we think that'd be great collaboration, Drew. I mean, the more that we can aggregate data and do a comparative analysis, we're going to learn something. Maybe we'll be excited about what we learn, maybe we'll be terrified, but at least we'll learn something. So,
Maybe you can connect us by email, and if I get the GPS points, I can send you the sample or like our
yeah,
results
that would be awesome.
I was just going to
Appreciate
ask, did
that.
Trapper send you the GPS coordinates when you got your waypoint samples?
Maybe. Yeah, it might be in text message.
Okay, well, that's one of the learning lessons we learned that Trapper sent out our waypoint samples, and we didn't have GPS coordinates. So if you don't have them, I'll get you in contact with Trapper, and Jack or Rodale Institute would be where Drew
Yeah,
is referring to. So very
yeah,
good
let's do that.
resource.
Yeah.
I'll get
Look,
him in contact tomorrow. If I don't get you in contact tomorrow, message me, Drew. And you heard how my day went today already. Tomorrow's not going to be much better, so
Yeah.
I'll try to get it done right away in the morning.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Uh, like I said, that's kind of why we do these calls and that. So get the information out there and see where we can. I like where you're going with that ideal though, because you guys got soil samples up the wazoo there. So.
Yeah, look, Drew, that'd be a great opportunity for us to be
And
able to tap into the data you've already collected.
we pulled
Yeah.
spring and fall samples at Rodale, so
Yeah,
Great.
so I would want to compare the spring samples since that's the time of year we did deep cores and shallow cores, but the shallows should be pretty close to what you guys did, I hope.
We'll find out, won't we?
Yep.
I'll get the message going so I don't forget it. Any other questions for Jack while I'm doing that?
Yeah, did they lose some data? I had a message concerning that.
I don't think I don't think we lost any data. I think that we had some replicate, we had different names that were associated to the same GPS coordinates.
I thought we had them all straightened out, but
Yeah. I ended up with two samples, and I know we had like three fields lined up. And I got two samples, and they were from the same field. They did correspond to previous soil tests that I had in the field, so that was all good.
So Keith, I'm going to make a note here and let me go back and see. I'll go back to the lab and see what they have under your name. And let me backtrack that a little bit
Okay.
because that sounds good that our lab data correlated to your lab data. So three samples, you received two results from the same field. Okay. I'll follow up on that for you.
you know, we were sampling by soil type, so you very well could have two per. We were trying to hit different soil types when we were out there, so
Yes, that's right. And the field that they were in, that's exactly what they had. You're right.
yeah. And if I remember right, Alex took yours up to Adams, so it'd be in the first. I'll look back through my messages too here.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Anything else, fellas?
Sure. Um, so with the device you're working on right now, you're intending that to be running at like a 2-inch depth then at the moment. And I'm assuming just based on prior talks, down the road development would enable the device to be attached and run on potentially different implements anyway to maybe get a like 6-inch depth or multiple layers.
Yeah, so the goal for the device is to be able to read at a 4-inch depth from its face. So yes, correct. If it's sitting down in the furrow, then we can get to the bottom. Again, what we're focused on is the planting depth for corn and beans. Um, so it's not actually going to run like a firmer. It probably still rides above the furrow and not necessarily in it. Um, so that's sort of where our 2 to 4 inch depth plays, Joe.
Good, thanks.
Any other thoughts, questions? Otherwise, I'll shut recording off and we can have free conversation.